Hello everyone, welcome back. I'm Kris. This is part 2 of The Rise of China, The Great Leap Forward. This is the 4th video in the series, and this is part 2. I think I have part 1 up already and completed. 2 is Generalissimo. 3 was... I don't remember. But anyways, before we get started, if you can click on that thumbs up, it's completely free. Helps me out more than you'll know. Subscribe to the channel if you like the content, and click on the thanks button if you want to keep the channel running. All right, let's get this going.
Mao is encouraged by the apparent success of the first 5-year plan. Hoping to encourage further innovation, in 1956 he announces, "Let 100 flowers bloom. Let 100 schools of thought contend." It is an invitation for others to come forward with constructive proposals for the government. In response, criticism of the party comes flooding in, from intellectuals, academics and scientists.
Wait a minute. If I'm understanding it right, he's asking, what he's saying is he's asking for outsiders outside his group to come forward with ideas. Is that what it is? And now everyone's saying, oh, you know, they're falling apart and everything like that. Is that all he's doing? Is just asking, what else should we do? And people are losing their minds? Or am I missing something?
Mao and the leadership are dismayed and angered. Rather than welcome proposals, they move to crush what they now regard as dangerous dissent. A new anti-rightist campaign punishes at least 500,000 men and women who are considered insufficiently loyal to the party. Penalties include public humiliation, hard labor, and execution. Among the leaders of this brutal campaign, a new addition to the Politburo Standing Committee, the 52-year-old Deng Xiaoping. A veteran of the Long March, he will become a crucial figure in the years ahead. In 1958, the start of a second 5-year plan. This time, even more ambitious. Mao calls it the Great Leap Forward, a huge program to create a truly socialist state and dramatically expand industrial output to catch up with the world's leading economies. A huge public information campaign spreads the message throughout the country, urging every Chinese citizen to rise to the challenge and embrace Mao's leadership. Existing rural cooperatives are merged into vast people's communes, in which the party controls every aspect of daily life. The state now owns the land, buys harvests, and distributes rations. Private kitchens are banned as representing selfish individualism and replaced by communal canteens. Very quickly, the Great Leap Forward's ambitions become detached from reality. Many of the technicians and experts who should have overseen the campaign have been purged. Under intense pressure to meet unrealistic targets, local party officials exaggerate harvest figures. These inflated reports suggest large surpluses of grain, which is then taken from the communes to supply the cities. In reality, this means far too much grain is taken from the communes, often leaving them without enough to feed themselves. Drought, mismanagement and corruption actually mean agricultural production is in steep decline. Millions of peasants now face starvation.
So I kind of, I've heard a little bit about this, about Mao allowed millions to starve to death. But I've heard it from the standpoint of it was to kind of curb the population. That's just what I've heard, so we'll see.
On top of this, farmers face new nonsensical demands, like an order to use homemade foundries to produce iron, often of such poor quality it's unusable. The result is a disastrous famine across China. By some recent estimates, Mao's Great Leap Forward is responsible for at least 45 million excess deaths, around 7% of the population. It ranks as one of the greatest man-made disasters in history. In the most hard-pressed areas, whole communes starved to death. Famine had always been a feature of life and death in China, but the winter of 1960 is perhaps the darkest hour in the country's history. Reports of widespread chaos and suffering eventually seep through to the upper echelons of the party. In the summer of 1959, at a conference in Lushan, Minister of Defense Peng Dehuai openly denounces the Great Leap Forward and Mao's leadership. Mao is not in listening mood. Peng is placed under house arrest and removed from office. His replacement, General Lin Biao, is one of Mao's most loyal supporters. But as the months go by, the evidence becomes impossible to ignore. When news of the famine reaches Taiwan, Chiang Kai-shek seeks to humiliate Mao by ordering airdrops of food to the mainland. By 1961, the party has to acknowledge reality. Mao Zedong publicly accepts that mistakes were made.
Hey, look, I mean, mistakes were made. That's something that you don't hear very often from people in a position to know. And if they do, it's always, my predecessor really made a lot of mistakes, instead of, yeah, you know what? That was a bad call. As soon as you start misreporting, the grain aspect, it was like, you don't need to do that. You could lower your target. If this is, this is the bare minimum. Uh-oh. Come on. This is the bare minimum, and this is the target, bare minimum, and they're here. Just lower it to here and try to get them to hit that. And then just try to improve it a little bit every year. You don't have to have, you have to be here. The goal has to be achievable. If not, then they're going to look at it like, we can't do that. Why am I going to bust my butt every single day and try to hit something I know I can't? Lower the goal, lower the standard. That's what I would do.
He remains chairman of the Chinese Communist Party, but for the next few years, he steps back from frontline politics. In his place, more pragmatic leaders notably Liu Shaoqi, Zhou Enlai, and Deng Xiaoping, take on the day-to-day business of government. Some of the policies that had led to the famine are abandoned. Communes are reduced in size, communal canteens are abandoned, and some land returns to private ownership. But the party still controls all aspects of daily life, providing everything from healthcare to housing, education, and employment, while food remains rationed. The work unit, not the family, is the basic unit of social and economic existence. Meanwhile, in 1958, the government adopts a new phonetic alphabet to encourage literacy in China. It is called Pinyin, and becomes the new system for the romanization of Chinese names. Peking becomes Beijing. Canton becomes Guangzhou. Nanking becomes Nanjing, with countless more changes. Pinyin spreads only slowly across China itself, and it is not until the 1980s that the new names are taken up abroad. While enacting the Great Leap Forward at home, Mao takes an increasingly aggressive approach abroad. In August 1958, the Chinese army starts shelling islands in the Taiwan Strait, belonging to the Republic of China, testing nationalist defenses. The US response is emphatic, sending naval and air reinforcements to the region, and deciding to use nuclear weapons if necessary. It is one of the world's first serious nuclear crises. The situation eventually reverts to a hostile standoff. But Soviet Premier Nikita Khrushchev, who is pursuing a policy of peaceful coexistence with the West, is furious at Mao's recklessness. Relations between China and the Soviet Union, the world's two great communist states, are in steep decline. In 1956, Khrushchev had denounced the excesses of Stalinism and the cult of personality. Mao is outraged by these views, and in turn denounces Khrushchev's views as a betrayal of communism. In his eyes, the Soviet Union has gone soft. It is a fatal ideological split. And after 1959, the two leaders will never meet again. That year, China faces a revolt against its rule in Tibet. In response, the Chinese army shells Lhasa. The uprising ends after 3 days of bloody street fighting. The Dalai Lama and 80,000 Tibetans flee to India. From now on, Tibet is under direct Chinese rule. In 1962, tension on the Himalayan border between China and India explodes into a month of fighting as China grabs disputed territory. Tellingly, the Soviet Union backs India, not China, a sign of how far their relationship has broken down. the Soviets have already withdrawn all technical support for Chinese weapons programs. But China is no longer so reliant on foreign expertise. 1958, for example, had seen the founding of the University of Science and Technology of China in Peking. And in 1964, at Lop Nor in Xinjiang province, China tests its first atomic bomb. Two years later, it detonates its first thermonuclear device. China has joined the United States, Soviet Union, Britain and France to become the world's fifth nuclear power, adopting a no-first-use nuclear policy. There is no longer any question that China stands on its own feet as a major world power. But Mao and the Chinese Communist Party still see much work to do. Their next battleground will be within Chinese society itself.
The Epic History team uses heaps of technology to make our videos, from laptops and drives to headphones, microphones, and of course the dreaded cables. And when we're off on our travels, we all know how...
Okay. Really? Come on. So this is just another ad, but that's a really...
So where's my Epic History discount, we hear you ask? It's in the link in the video description. Use it now to start.
It's a really nice bag. Okay. Well, we're going to end it here. That's kind of that that Russia didn't have their back. I think 1958 for the war there. I think that was the U.S. Well, the U.S. was involved in that. What am I trying to say? I'm trying to say Eisenhower, I believe, was the president when that happened. Eisenhower did not want to use nukes. He kicked around the idea of tactical nuclear weapons, but it was never an actual thing. It was, yeah, well, we can hit it and it would just devastate a 4-mile area. And it's like, yeah, but he was like, yeah, you're right. Okay. So I'm wondering if this was kind of the start of the divide between both countries, because I know they're, hit and miss friendships. So anyways, we'll end it here. We'll be back. I'm sure they'll come up with another one. And until then, have a good day, have a good night.